businesses को. इस engagement की cost is $8.8 trillion. $8.8 trillion globally is what we are paying for actually disengaged employees who are not productive, who are not giving their very best. Ladies and gentlemen, 8.8 trillion is 7% of the global economy. So this is huge, and this is something that we all need to work on. So in short, working the way we are all meant to be, or what we was expected and traditional, is not working anymore. And today I have a panel to discuss this on a more local scale and to identify and share with us what they are doing in their organizations. These are leaders from esteemed organizations, leaders from global and local experiences, and I'd like to call them on stage right now. I can see, before I call them, I can see that an audience has also started settling in. With a round of applause, if I may, I'd like to call upon stage Khaldoon Latif, CEO Al-Falah. Thank you. Khaldoon, please join us. Mishal Shirazi, CEO Atlas Real Estate. Sajjad Iftikhar, CEO Huxt, and Vladimira Brezhneska, founder Neem. Thank you so much. आप लोग note करेंगे that this is a very interesting, diverse panel, different experiences. They'll introduce themselves more, but इसमें सिर्फ आप नहीं सीखेंगे, इस conversation से we'll all end up learning, and I think the panel will also learn from each other. I'm going to take my seat there, and we'll start the discussion. Thank you. We have microphones, yes, and they're working. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's begin. May I ask you guys to please introduce yourselves? Khaldoon, maybe we can begin.
So I am Khaldoon bin Latif. I'm the CEO of Al-Falah Investments. We predominantly are a mutual fund company. In addition to mutual funds, which is our core business, we manage about $1.2 billion of assets under management. We also have a private equity and REIT operation. In addition to this, I sit on the board of the Mutual Fund Association. I sit on the board of Yunus Textile, and I also sit on the board of a bank holding company out of Bahrain, and we have banks in Africa. So that's just
excellent exposure, great leadership experience. We're looking forward to hearing from you more. Mishal.
Hi, I'm Mishal Shirazi. I'm the CEO of Atlas Real Estate. Predominantly, my training is I'm a investment and corporate banker, and my early years of career was such. But I've been in the asset management industry for the past 8 years, and now I also look after REITs and real estate for Atlas Group. So yeah, I'm very excited to be here and looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you so much. After this discussion, I'd like some asset management tips from both of you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Sajjad.
So, I'm audible, I believe I so. So, I believe sitting on the number 3 position, it always gives you a flavor that what to introduce and what not. So, learning from my other 2 partners. So, I'm Sajjad Iftikhar, I'm CEO of Huxt Pakistan Limited. We operate in a pharmaceutical space and in various therapeutic areas. We belong to Packages Group. Packages Group acquired this company since April 2023, and so far we are managing a turnover of around 30 billion. So by profession, I am a chartered accountant, trained at PwC, and with the group for the past 18 years. So let's see how exciting this discussion goes on. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sajjad, for being here. Vladimira.
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. It's a pleasure to be on this panel and in this conference. I am a founder of Neem, as of the Neem tree, but we are not in agriculture space. We are in financial technology space. We provide payments infrastructure for some of the largest businesses across Pakistan, whether that's logistics, health, e-commerce. But the reason why I'm here today is because we also provide financial wellness solution, earned wage access to, again, some of the trusted employers across Pakistan. And the impact of this product is really amazing. So looking forward to hopefully have a chance to talk a little bit more about it. Yes, very excited to talk about the culture and detachment. Hopefully we have some good news coming.
Thank you.
And maybe you ask me to, just one last thing is, As I walk through the room, people ask me, so how was it? When did you fly in? So I've been living in Pakistan for the last 7 years. So hopefully I can also give a little bit of a local spirit of working with the talent here in Pakistan.
Thank you so much. And if I switch to Urdu, you will understand the language slightly as well. Thanks a lot. Okay, let's begin. Guys, we're all sitting here, and the fact is that we are in a connected world. We are so connected that by the time this conversation finishes, you would have received at least 3 to 5 WhatsApp messages from friends, family, colleagues. Yet, we are feeling detached. Khaldoon, I'd love to know your thoughts on how we got here. What do you think is changing around us that people are feeling detached? 8 out of 10.
So I heard the introduction that you gave, so I'll give you my perspective of why this great detachment is happening, and it's not just limited to us, but it's a global phenomena. And I'll give you a bit of a history for it. If you look at large corporates, since the 1930s all the way till 1950s, the big growth innovation engines of the world were the General Motors, Fords, and so on and so forth. And typically, when employees would join these organizations, these were career paths. You join them and you retire there.
Everyone wanted to work there. Yes.
However, if you start tracing, a lot of these entities eventually got listed on the exchanges. And the capitalist system started affecting the behavior of these large organizations. And what had happened was, instead of being long-term oriented, where capital, in all forms of capital, human capital and financial capital, were deployed for long-term value creation. Once they started getting listed, everything became shorter duration. You had quarterly results, annual results, all the focus of larger organizations started drifting from long-term value creation to short-term value creation. All of this then resulted into certain effects. Organizations became very cost-sensitive, treatments towards their human capital changed, and as a consequence, what we have seen in the last 20 years, it gave birth to this venture capital drive. Employees across the board became detached, and the creative component, which were underwritten by these large capital provider and institutions, were then outsourced to venture capital institutions who were creating the rails for innovation. And we've seen this in the last 20 years. The big creative components have come from these young entrepreneurial efforts. And that is somewhat the cause of the disconnection that we see within our employees. Now, having said that, we have a similar trend, and I'm going to speak for the industry that I'm part of. So we have the same underlying dynamics. We're very cost-sensitive, profit-oriented, and there is a simple strategy that, okay, your competitors invest in their human capital, and the cheapest way of building your human resources is simply to pay the competitor and take over their resources. And reality is, there's a labor economics study. The returns to seniority, this is a Nobel Prize paper, has been negative after 3 years. So the price discovery for all human capital is to jump around. And that phenomena is what has affected all employees who are looking for wage creation. They have to jump around, and that creates disconnectivity within organizations. So for us, we have experienced the same thing. We've been very competitive. We've been chasing resources from competitors instead of fueling and investing in our own HR. Of course, this has happened for the last 20 odd years, and in comes Middle East, which has taken a big chunk the last few years. And that has forced an organization like our own, where we are now rethinking how we look at human capital. So we're now focusing on investing more in our human capital and creating those drives that holds them back. Clearly, we will still be losing some of it, but we're now focused on the long-term creativity that resides within our labor and connecting it with a lot of technological changes that are happening. So this is our approach towards this phenomenon.
Perfect. So, Khaldoon, you've highlighted organizations were thinking more long-term, and now we're looking at more short-term. Profits have become more important. This is what employees also say. When they're sitting in the organizations, they will say, आजकल तो company सिर्फ profit का सोचती है. So आप कह रहे हैं, actually that's true. It is very real. And I think we're all seeing that in our organizations. What you've also highlighted is that for wage creation, employees have to perhaps look outside. And what your organization is doing, we'll come back to the trick, to the initiatives later. But I'd love to hear, Mishal, do you also feel the same? Do you see it from a different angle? And what are you seeing in terms of detached employees?
So I think, globally this detachment has always been there. It has developed, but I think just looking at Pakistan itself, what really pushed it was in the last 4 or 5 years, the macro volatility really pushed people to even feel more detached. A lot of it pushed industry like big structural changes, whether it was asset management or real estate or other industries with high inflation and interest rates jacking
मिशाल आप
up.
बताएंगी हमारी ऑडियंस के लिए और मेरे लिए भी मैक्रो वॉलेटिलिटी का मतलब क्या होता है?
I mean, just the macroeconomics of, the country at the moment, what it was going for. So inflation, devaluation, high interest rate shocks. It kind of impacted all the industries. And actually, it was a very difficult period, but it kind of matured these industries as well. Investors now wanted products that, had more transparency, had more structure. Their risk appetite changed. And I think all of these reasons, the investor became more mature as well. I think what we need to understand is that, for example, in real estate, no longer real estate is just seen as a very plots flipping and parking your money in plots and all of that kind of thing. It had to be gentrified. There had to be some structure to it. And so SECP and all these regulatory bodies really honed down that you need to make it into an asset that people can invest in and still feel comfortable in. So it kind of pushed companies and pushed organizations to start seeing it that way. And I think when we come to detachment, what we need to understand is that all the people who did not leave Pakistan and who stayed back was because of all these economic pressures that they had. They were physically there, but mentally they were not there.
महंगाई बढ़ रही थी.
Yeah, and that's what was going on.
Yes.
Especially, the younger workforce, right? They also compare themselves to the global standards, globally. When they saw a lot of things changing at the workplace, for example, post-COVID, there was flexible work hours, mental health, all these things came up. Pakistan did try to keep up with it, and try to, but because of cultural, operational difficulties, they couldn't assimilate it as fast. So that created frustration, especially in the younger workforce. And that frustration, how can we overcome it? Because a younger workforce does not want hierarchy just for the sake of hierarchy. They do not want, to be just told what to do. They want to know why they are doing something. They want to be part of a bigger picture. They want to be part of a bigger organization. And they want to be, they want to feel like they are putting into the decision-making process as well. So I think for that to detachment, to get rid of that detachment, it all comes down to the culture of an organization and how you built it. If your culture of your organization, other than the 3 R's we always talk about, respect, reward, recognition, all of that, I think another very important part is that people need to feel that they are visible, that their opinion matters, and that the organization is invested in them. That is key. Training is key. Being part of their career growth plan is very important. That's how they will feel included. I mean, our groups, including I think many others, sending people to INSEAD or Harvard or LUMS or, all these organizations is because we think that the organization's most important part is human resource, and we are valuing it, and we're putting our resources in them.
Thank you. I'm going to repeat some of the key points Mishal said. The 3 R's, reward, respect, and recognition, are not enough anymore. You highlighted something about young people comparing themselves to their counterparts abroad and wanting more. And you also mentioned mental health and well-being. It's the interesting part is, ladies and gentlemen, कि 15 साल पहले ये conversations table पर ही नहीं थी. We were not discussing these words. So I'm happy that as leaders, you're not only conscious, you're aware of the needs. I'm going to go to Sajad now. And Sajad, you're in a very traditional industry, right? I'd love to know, with detached workforce, and this is potentially a fact that we're dealing with, right? And with a larger number of people disengaging, not quitting. So quitting is one problem, right? But actually staying and staying disengaged. How do you foster innovation and growth in a traditional industry like yours?
So first of all, I believe you have selected people with finance background for this discussion, but they are operating in different industries. So perhaps we are dealing with people who are financially detached or emotionally detached. That yet to be seen towards the end of our conversation.
कहीं से ये applause आ रही है आपके इस comment पे जी.
Okay. So, yes, it's a traditional industry, but in every operating business, we see curves. There are good days, bad days. If the employees are emotionally detached in good days, it's a very alarming number. But if the employees are emotionally detached in bad days, yes, that can be understood. In that situation, the leadership need to know that why could be the people are emotionally detached. One possibility, company not doing well, okay. Other one, growth opportunities are limited. Third, economic circumstances are as such. These are the potential three factors that keep people emotionally detached. So, if the company is not doing well, what they want from their leadership? One simple thing, transparency and trust.
Transparency and?
And trust.
And trust.
Company is not doing well, there should be an austerity drive, and that should be coming from the top leadership. If the top leadership is traveling business class, staying at 5-star hotels, doing their trainings haywire, but at the same time they are saying, look, there is an austerity drive within the company, people will stop trusting them. I'm not talking about Gen Zs, I'm not talking about millennials. It will happen to any organization. So the first important thing is transparency. So in our group as well, there is an ethos regarding the value culture that we have. There are 5 pillars. We take our business and HR related decisions based on those 5 principles. Just to give you an example, there were days when the company was not doing financially well. People could think of employee retrenchment, layoffs at that time.
That comes in, the thought comes in, yes.
Thoughts come in. But what the organization did? Yeah, there is an inflation rate of 30% within the company. People are badly impacted. Now are the days to help people rather than laying them off. Okay, but the company is also in a difficult position. What can we do? Give them an inflation allowance of X%. Nobody was thinking of that inflation allowance at that stage. But what does it come out of it? It's about the care policy. So people do not feel detached once they say that the organization is behaving within its ethos. That is care, respect, courage, and whatever. Many organizations have different types of ethos for that. But that ethos is one thing that keeps you binding during your bad days even. So you need to first plug that emotional detachment through various acts. Every organization has different. And in these situations, I believe the HR professionals play a very significant role. Like in our organization, our group, I think many of the people know Jawad, Shakil, Maha, that they have done a tremendous job while keeping the people engaged in those bad days. And when the right days come, these are the people from whom your new leaderships emerge. They haven't changed the people. And in good days, new people emerge out of those leaderships and they are given that opportunity. So that is how you control that emotional detachment in bad days.
So what I'm hearing, Sajad, and you used a new word. अब तक हमने discuss किया था respect, reward, and recognition are key. They're the basics. They're the foundations, right? And you're like Maslow's hierarchy of HR. What you're saying is we need to show care for employees, but also transparency and trust are key in times like these. And I think these are very solid words with a lot of depth and meaning. We'll come back to those. I like the introduction of care. It's an interesting concept. Yeah, it's one of your
That's how
ethoses.
we practiced it.
Perfect.
And that's how we learned it from our sponsor, Saeed Babar Ali. His career is about all HR and management, and we all learn from him.
Yes, absolutely you do. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Vladimira, yes. We're hearing different concepts. We're hearing that the detachment is a reality. We're hearing that there are things that we can do about it. There is a context to it. Khaldoon explained the context. We talked about how organizations can behave in this situation. And by the way, I realize that we HR mein baithe, but or mostly the audience is HR and it's a cross-functional audience. But I also realize that not only do we have responsibility for others' engagement, it might actually be impacting us. Yeah? So I'd like to understand one additional element. In the morning, we talked about technology, use of AI. I'm keen to know, do you think while we demonstrate care and connection more often, what is the role of technology? And is there a role for AI in this? Happy to.
Thank you. If you allow me, before I address the question, just a quick reaction, because I think I'm the only representative in this panel, and I wonder whether actually in the room as well of a technology scale-up, because I'm sort of seeing more established organizations and businesses over here. So I think it's just worth to touch a little bit on how are we experiencing this. And it's been mentioned that, you know, it's been a very tough time, the last, I would say, 2 years for the technology space, for the startups, for the scale-ups here in Pakistan. We had the fundraising winter. We went through the macroeconomics. Most of us still are dependent on external funds coming into our business, even though the striving for sustainability and for the health of the business has become much bigger priority. All of that impacts, of course, us at the top as founders, you just mentioned, but it cascades to your team. And in our case, we don't have 4,000 or 400 employees. We have 40. So in our case, we cannot afford detachment. So what that means is that we go into depth. We go into personal approach. I, as a founder, know each and one of my employees. We often know what is happening in their families. When they come into the office and they are stressed, we have the conversation. On Monday morning, so our team is distributed across both Karachi and Islamabad. On Monday morning, our whole team comes on Zoom. We use Zoom. So there we go with technology, bridge. And we have a check-in. The check-in is not about priorities for the week. We are checking in on our energy levels. And we always have some engagement questions, such as, I don't know, what is the one thing in the Monday morning that makes your energy high? Something that allows people to get to know themselves a little bit more on a human level. And we've had people who hesitated, but we have been running this since day zero, when we were 3 co-founders, and now we are 40 Neemers. Every Monday we do this, religiously. And it's just one of the examples of how we know that we have to go beyond knowing someone as a role, or just, you know, they have the box that they fit in within our business. So how technology is important for us. We are a tech business. For us, it's a must, it's an enabler. It never have been a threat or a replacement, I would say, in our case. I would say it's been actually quite an amazing, but it takes the leadership to take it in. That for us, what it allowed is that our team, and of course there was a nudge and there was a coaching towards the managers and then to the wider team. Our team is trying or using technology in a way that takes away the repetitive tasks. And I think that's the baseline of how you use AI, right, as an example. But what it allows to is more time for the real stuff, for the strategy, for the creative stuff, for the difficult conversation, for coaching. And I tell you, like, that has been something that us as founders in our heads have been mostly, that's their KPI, that's their performance. It's not necessarily on the tasks. It's on how well are you coaching your team and the engagement metrics. And that has been enabled by technology as well. So there are many other examples how we use that, but I think that would be probably my most important point, is that in cases like scale-ups and tech companies, we have to know each one of our team members. We use technology to allow us to do that. We train our managers to be coaches. And I think this is something that we know for a very long time, but now is the time that we are actually implementing it and living it.
And from you, I hear technology to do the repetitive tasks so you can connect more. Yeah? So you have release time and bandwidth to connect more. Please,
I
add
want
it.
to just top up
Please do.
on what she said. Like, we need to really think that how AI has evolved the situation. There were the times when we say computer-enabled or computer-trained resources. Now the term is AI-enabled or AI-trained resources. So that has changed the thing, because historically, once we were talking about new MTOs or youngsters coming into the organization, we put them into an individual, he trains them for like 4, 5, 10 years.
Yes.
And then they evolve, then they shape up like a professional individual. Now the situation has improved with this AI. Like, for instance, for example, if we give these individuals a project that we are going into building a new office space, with AI, these individuals just flag up what are the various elements that they need to be careful of: electrification, plumbing, decoration, how it will come up. Now, once these people go to their managers, they don't ask the questions, who is the architect? They'll be saying that there will be a plumbing work first, then an electrification work. The architect needs to behave like this. So they have transitioned them well in as new managers. So now the greater responsibility with this AIR technology on the employees, it's shortening the gap between the senior individuals and the youngsters within the organization. So that is one element we as a leaders need to be mindful of. This technology is bringing
लोग
it to the
जल्दी
agenda.
सीख रहे हैं. They're learning
Correct,
more,
correct.
they're learning faster.
Faster.
As leaders, that's something we should be aware of. So
I
great
think
point.
something
Please.
else that I'd like to say is that AI or automation or any of that is never going to replace the human element that an organization has, whether it's empathy or coaching or any of that. I think that can never. In fact, I was reading an article in The Economist. In the last 5 years, organizations have actually developed their HR even more. The HR system of an organization keeps getting larger and larger, because that is actually the time that with all this AI and automation, we need actually more HR. We need more people to connect, more communication.
So, thank you, Vishal. I read somewhere AI is not going to replace employees, but the employees who don't use AI may be replaced. So, yes, so AI enabled is the word. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask one last question because we do have a time crunch, and then I'll request you all to just give me a 20-second advice for this audience. Khaldoon, AI की बात हो रही है, technology की बात हो रही है. What is your view on automation versus human? लोग कहते हैं अब तो बंदा मिलता ही नहीं है on the other side because we're always talking to technology. What is your view on that?
So I think some of my colleagues who've just stated, AI is not really replacing people. What it is doing is enhancing their efficiency. And when we say it's enhancing their efficiency, it's their ability to synthesize ideas, free up resources, do away with the recursive activity which will prevent you from doing more. So now I think the HR component can focus on the more value creative component, because a lot of automation can prevent, and typically, let's say if you work on any project, there is a lot of trial and error. With the support of the AI, you can remove a lot of those trial and errors, and your ability to do more gets enhanced. And more than that, I think, and I'm going to say something in particular in the context of Pakistan, we have been quite isolated in our thinking. And with these tools, we can actually think cross-border. You can generate information at the click of a button, be able to synthesize and create ideas that are significantly larger, which were earlier on at least, had barriers to thought. We will think about capital, we won't engage in some of these conversations, but with these tools in place, I think for everyone who's part of any organization, their eventual thought process, the canvas of their thinking is expanding. So that's how I would look at this entire component.
What you're saying is this is not even a question. You just have to use it, right? And I think this is fantastic because in a time when shorter span is required, profits are important, as you said. We are all required to do more. And instead of doing more with less, maybe we do more with technology. Yeah. Is there a question for our panelists from the audience by any chance? We can take maybe one or two questions. Do you see anyone? I don't see anyone, right? In that case, thank you. In that case, how about we have a 20-second message for the audience? Vladimira, let's start with you.
Sure. I think great point have been sort of shared over here, and I think it's the summary. So not too original, but I think it is a necessity. I think to use technology, I think there is no other way. You've asked me before when we were talking about where are we heading, and I sort of thought about it, and there's a term around from sort of detachment to recontracting. And I think the recontracting is more about really understanding on a detailed level, on a tailored level, who are your people and what is it that they need as humans. I think it's that human element that we are revisiting and refining. Technology is allowing us to do so because it's taking care of the stuff that was overwhelming for us. So we leverage that, we appreciate that, we are really excited about it, and I really truly hope that the technology company in Pakistan can also be an inspiration for some of the more established players, so we can also learn from each other as a wider ecosystem.
Thank you so much. Sajjad.
I believe you have rightly used the word reconnecting, right? So just to build up, like since we are all talking to the HR professionals, there is a gap between the experienced resources who are sometimes aged, post 50, and there are Gen Zs just joining the workforce. So as HR professionals, there is a great responsibility to bridge that gap, because that will be very beneficial for the company as soon as we bridge that gap and reduce it further. And for that purposes, like in our organization, we attempted one thing which I need to portray as an example, and maybe people feel it relevant for others. They have established a leadership talk session. There is one leadership member joining 30 minutes talk with all the company where his career journey is being discussed. So that is how the leaders who consider themselves not approachable are knowledge center, they become accessible to people. And at the same time, it becomes very easy for the audience to ask relevant questions from them. Because it's not as such that as Gen Zs, we are entering the organization and we are smart people, we are AI enabled, and these experienced individuals don't have anything to offer. And at the same time, once they learn from the experience of these leaders, they started developing themselves. So that is one of my advice. And secondly, this will definitely help our organization in reaching that. And the next level that we have done, that we are now started bringing in HR leaders from across the industry for that talk. So that
I'm waiting for that
invitation.
invitation.
I'll give that invite.
Thank you.
Because our HR team, I'll give full credit to Jawad, at that time Shakil, and now Maha,
It's a great initiative.
for raising this initiative to a level from the inside leaders. They are bringing in industry leaders so that people can learn from their experience at the same time and bridge that gap.
So I'm hearing reconnecting. I'm hearing Gen Z के पास अगर experienced mentor की advice हो, if they have the advice from experienced people, then we just have magic. Yeah,
Correct,
we have
correct,
magic happening across the organization. And reverse mentoring. Thank you, Vishal.
I think the advice I would give is in this era of detachment, I'd like to say that leadership is not about control. It is about connection, it is about communication, and that needs to be instilled in the culture of your organization, where people feel that you are there to listen to them and that you are invested in their future and in their growth. I think that is key. Once you build that trust with your peers in your organization, I think that's what is very important.
बहुत key messages और responsibility आ रही है वैसे आप सब पे. Just want to highlight. Thank you. Trust. Coming back to it.
For us, I think I completely agree with my entire panel for the emphasis that they have. For me, the key takeaway in terms of as an organization, what we've done to avoid detachment, and I think it's very easy to say that we want to have a cultural build-up, but in our experiences, what we've done is we've built a partnership model. We have a very lateral structure. While I may be the CEO of the company, I feel everyone else who's reporting to me is my partner, and the partnership is towards a collective vision. And that's what the organization wants to achieve. Now, having said this, it sounds quite simple. I think some of the things that my colleagues have said that, if you want to build a culture, you need to have a spirit of transparency. Again, if you want to have a partnership model, that transparency is very hard to execute. And I think that is something for all the leaders here. I think there is a price that is to be paid. There is a discomfort that transparency creates. And if we are to implement it in spirit, in the culture that we're aiming for, it starts with our own self. And there's a significant amount of discomfort that comes. And I'll give you an example. I feel that whenever I'm making a decision that may affect a management trainee or anyone else, I feel like if the person asks me, I should have the ability to respond to him why I have made a decision, regardless if they agree or not. But in my own mindset, that clarity of thought has to exist. And I think that's a model that allows me. It hasn't really given us the culture that I would desire, but it clearly is putting us on a path where we think we can address these detachments by creating that environment of accountability between the leadership and those who are following the leadership.
That's actually fantastic. Thank you. What we're hearing, and I told you guys at the beginning that I think we will all learn from it. I am a remote manager, right? I have my team based in Europe as well as EMEA. And I do my Monday check-ins. I'm going to make sure that we check the energy levels, so learning there. But I think it's a very, very lesson for all of us. We need to be transparent, and transparency will build trust. And that is a way towards reconnection, maybe? Yeah? So thank you so much for these keywords. I don't know if you noticed, I'm all about words, because जब ये audience इस कमरे से जाएगी तो इन्हें बहुत सारी चीज़ें नहीं याद रहेंगी. So if you were to take a few words, build transparency, trust, care, and reconnect. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. You've been absolutely fantastic. I want to first give you all a hand, because I saw them engaged and listening. After lunch, that's a big thing. Yeah? And now, may I ask you to give the panelists a big hand, please. Thank you. Thank you.
Mike.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much, amazing panelists. May I request you to stay on the stage. We have got our memento, and for that I request Hassan Adnan to join us again. So Hassan Adnan Ahmed, board member, PSTD, to present memento to our esteemed panelists. So may I request Khaldoon bin Latif, CEO Al Falah Assets, to join Hassan to receive his memento. Thank you very much, Khaldoon. Mishal Shirazi, she is the CEO of Atlas Real Estate. Thank you very much, Mishal. Sajjad Iftikhar, CEO of Hugs Pakistan. Thank you very much, Sajjad. Vladimira's co-founder, Neem. Thank you very much, Vladimira. We have something very special for Humaira. And thank you. And finally, for our moderator, Humaira Ahmed, Head of HR Operations, Syngenta Group. And I love your energy, Humaira. This is amazing. Thank you very much.